in an area 3 times the size of Greater London. Finance, property and big business. The offshore world is at the very heart of British life. Well, we're joined now by the Conservative MP Crispin Blunt, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, and the Nigerian Senator Dino Melaye, who has just established an anti-corruption committee in Nigeria. Well, now, yesterday, I have to put it to you, Mr. Cameron talked of fantastically corrupt Nigeria. Is it?
I want to start by expressing my disappointment in the statement by David Cameron against the sovereignty of the people of Nigeria.
He didn't mean you to hear it.
Why I also acknowledge the magnitude and intensity of corruption in Nigeria. I will also say those who stay in glass houses don't trust stone, because the BBC exposed the British government as being responsible for rigging Nigeria's first general election. So I can also authoritatively say that the British government helped to institutionalize corruption in Nigeria. So
let's pause it there and get a reaction from Crispin Blunt. Crispin Blunt, I mean, the truth is that British hands are not clean either, and it's easy to, as the Senator suggests, throw stones, but they could well come through our own windows.
And that's true, and that's what's being exposed by the Prime Minister taking a lead on this issue, or sustaining interest and international attention on this issue, which has been running actually since the Abacha affair. From Nigeria, whereas Nigeria, I think, 20 years ago, was seeking recovery of assets that were going to be stolen from Nigeria. And a lot of the changes in the UN Security Council resolutions, EU law and everything else come from that time. And the Prime Minister, to his credit, is keeping his foot on the accelerator to actually make sure that this issue does not go away and attention does not slide off it.
Yeah, this very new born-again status of David Cameron and the British government will need to be properly operationalized. What I mean is, as I speak to you, the Abacha's loot, part of the Abacha loot 20 years, is still within the territory of the United Kingdom.
Physically in Britain or in one of our dependents?
Part of it in Britain.
Yeah.
And as I speak to you, James Ibori, who escaped, not James Ibori, Alamesia, and former governor of Bayelsa State, who actually jumped bail from Britain, eventually is now late and dead. But the loot, the common patrimony of Nigerians is still within the territorial areas of. So corruption is a two-way thing. Why would any country encourage the looting of a third world nation and then encourage the warehousing such loot in your own economy and your country?
That is a good question. I mean,
it's plainly
the fact is we are sort of sorting a lot of this money into.
Yeah, but it's plainly not policy to do this, because it's catastrophic. It's catastrophic for the development to the nations of the developing world, because it in many cases actually prevents their successful development.
But let me put this to you, because Mr. Cameron is being tough on corruption verbally, but are we doing anything about our dependencies, refusing to publish who owns what, who is actually behind? Look at the 450,000 companies in the British Virgin Islands. And if he wanted to, he could take control of the British Virgin Islands, change the law, and we'd have it.
Yes, he could, but the position is actually starting to change in those territories and dependencies. The list of beneficial owners is going to be required to be available to the investigatory and prosecuting police,
a number of islands have said they're not going to do it.
Police authorities. Well, look at the climate that's now being created because the Prime Minister is having this conference, because the Prime Minister is putting a spotlight on this issue. It's going to be very difficult for those islands to continue to resist transparency in this area, and that's quite right and proper. It's going to take a long time. It's 2 decades down the track with
basically. I'm actually very tired of rhetorics and stories and good English and the drive by the new vigor with which Cameron is talking about corruption.
But then that takes us to the heart of this summit. Is it going to achieve anything, or is it just fine words?
I am afraid it won't, because if the British government is really interested in fighting corruption, the non-disclosure agreement with banks should be discarded with. You cannot encourage individuals to steal money from their various countries, deposit in your country, and they sign non-disclosure agreement with banks.
So that's
once these looters are not exposed by United Kingdom, the United States, and other Western nations, then the whole campaign against corruption is
pretty strong. Why not? Let's force disclosure.
I don't know the details there, so I'm not in a position to comment on it. But the fact that the Prime Minister is having this summit means that we've got to face up to the challenges that have been then put to the United Kingdom. And quite right too. And if we don't have an adequate answer on this, Parliament's going to have to look at it, and then we may have to change the law.
The positive.
Sadly, we've come to the end, but I'm very grateful to you. Some very key points have been made. Thank you very much for coming in. Right.
Thanks.